Hey guys, it's Reagan, and today I'm going to be filming my winter reading and review video, which is basically I'm going to be telling you all the books I've read in the past 3 months, which are the months of December, January, and February, which are winter months, which is why it's called winter reading and review. And at the end of the video, I'm going to be sharing with you my top 5 favorite books of the season. So the first month I'm going to be discussing is clearly going to be December, and the first book I read was The Winter's Curse by Marie Rudkowski, and I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. Next we have Amulet Volume 3 by Kazu Kibuishi, which I also gave 5 out of 5 stars. The Alloy of Law by Brandon Sanderson, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater, which I gave 4.5 out of 5 stars. And I also read Brilliance by Marcus Secchi, which I gave a 2 out of 5 stars. The Enchanter Heir by Cinda Williams-Chima, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I also read The Rosie Project, which I gave a 4 out of 5 star. Next is The Girl with All the Gifts by M.R. Carey, which I also gave a 4 out of 5 stars. Now we're moving into the month of January, and the first book I read was A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I gave this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Next was The Scorpio Races by Maggie Stiefvater, and I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. Next we have a graphic novel duology, which is Mouse Volume 1 and Mouse Volume 2 by Art Spiegelman, and I gave both of these volumes a 5 out of 5 stars. I also read Slammed and Point of a Treat by Colleen Hoover. Both of them I gave like 3 or 2.5 stars. And we have The First 15 Lives of Harry August by Claire North, and I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars, people. And the last book I read in the month of January was The Walled City by A.C. Gowden, and I gave this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And now we're moving into the last month, which is February. The first book was The Duff by Cody Keplinger, and I gave this book a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Then we have Miss Marvel Volume 1 No Normal, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. And we have Saga Volume 4, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. And we have The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton, which I gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And lastly, we have Gathering Darkness by Morgan Rhodes, which I also gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Now moving on to the most exciting part of the video, which is going to be my top 5 favorite books that I read this past season. The first one I'm going to talk about is The Winter's Curse by Marie Rudkowski. This is probably one of the best fantasy novels and from the young adult genre that I've read in a while. This novel follows a young girl who lives in a society where her people have conquered another land. So because of her people have conquered another land, they have obviously a lot of privilege. And she comes from a very wealthy family. Her father is the general of the army for this society, and she kind of has 2 choices with her life. It's either to join the military or to get married. She doesn't want to do either. At the beginning of the novel, she actually buys a slave, one of the individuals from the conquered land that her society now rules over. This book is much more than it seems. It has First off, it has really beautiful writing. That was the thing that hooked me initially. I just really loved how the author pieced the story together. Additionally, it's very political and it's logical, which I appreciate. So there's a lot of politics going on in this realm, and the conflicts that arise, especially between the 2 main protagonists, are very logical. It's not very angsty. I just overall really enjoyed this novel. I thought it was a very solid young adult. Next book I'm going to be talking about is The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton. This book really, I've fallen more and more in love with it the more time that has passed since initially reading it. It is a historical fiction novel with some magical elements that are kind of unexplained. It follows a young female living in 17th century Netherlands. And at the beginning of the novel, she has just married an older man because he's very wealthy and she comes from a poor family, so she's trying to like increase her station and help her family out. It's really just all about her assimilating into family life and finding out all these kind of weird secrets that surround the family that she just married into. Additionally, a wedding gift that her new husband gave her when she first moved in was a miniature of the house that they live in, and so she starts getting pieces from the miniaturist that seem to sort of reflect her life in a very eerie way. The thing about this book is the writing is honestly stunning, and the book itself is pretty slow moving, but at the same time it's kind of always present. Like, I was never bored to the point where I was like out of the story. I was always very interested to find out what was happening next, and I felt like the prose really just kind of kept you gliding along. Not to mention, this story has a very interesting full circle ending which brings it back to the beginning so nicely that I just honestly love it. So, and plus 17th century Netherlands is a very interesting time in history, which I thought was represented very well in this novel. The next novel, or graphic novel in this case, that made my top 5 is Saga Volume 4. I can't really give you much explanation about this because this is obviously the 4th installment in a series, but this series overall, like I'm sure many of you have heard, is a science fiction space love story type of deal. It follows two individuals who come from warring species that fall in love and have a baby, and it's all about them trying to survive and like not get arrested because what they did was illegal. Literally just being in love is illegal. This graphic novel series is just so great. It's vibrant, it's funny. You find yourself really connected to everyone, even though like it doesn't take you long to read these, but I am fully engrossed in the story and I always wait impatiently for the next volume to be released. Additionally, the art style in this is so good. It's so good. It's sharp, colorful, eye-catching. I just honestly love it so much. Next book I'm going to talk about is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This book was just a delight to read. I love Victoria and her writing, so this shouldn't be surprising. A Darker Shade of Magic follows a young man named Kel who lives in a alternative London where magic is like a thing. People are living it, people are loving it, and it's called Red London. But Kel has a very unique ability which allows him to transport himself between each London. There are a total of 4 Londons. There is Red London, where Kel lives, where magic is very much alive. There is White London, which magic exists, but it's a much more corrupted form. And then there's Grey London, which magic does not exist. It's our reality, essentially, unfortunately. And lastly, there's Black London, where Black London is no longer reachable. It's been destroyed by the magic, and it is a scary place. You can't get to it anymore. So our magician Kel kind of gets tangled into this adventure which requires him to sort of save all of the Londons and along the way he meets a really awesome sidekick from Grey London who wants to be a pirate, so it's great. The best thing about this novel is by far the characters. They have the funniest banter just ever. It's so funny and so witty and clever, and overall I just like the atmosphere of this book had. I thought it was a very, very well done first book in a fantasy trilogy, I think, and I cannot wait for the second one to come out next year, which is far away. And the last book I'm going to be talking about is by far my favorite book I have read this year still, and it is one of the first books I've read this year and nothing has passed it. And it is The First 15 Lives of Harry August. I love this book so much. This book is a little complicated. It's science fiction and it follows our man Harry August, who has a very peculiar thing about himself. He lives his life all the way up. He's born in like the early 20th century. He lives his life, he dies, but something peculiar happens to Harry every time he dies. He's reborn exactly at the beginning of his life, but with all the memories of his past life, and his life doesn't change. And on his 11th life, Harry is told right before he's about to die that the world is about to end. And Harry then needs to figure out why and how to fix it. This novel is so great. It's narrated by Harry August, and he's kind of taking us through all of his lives and all of his adventures and misadventures, and it is so freaking good. The narrator is so funny. He's very dry, very witty, very, very British. In fact, if you are interested in reading the audiobook or listening to the audiobook, I recommend it with this one. It's the only audiobook I've ever listened to, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought the narrator was very good. This story, though, is just amazing. Like, I really encourage you to pick this up if it sounds even remotely interesting to you, because I promise it is super well done, engaging, and the ending, it's amazing. It's just so good. Alrighty guys, those are the top 5 books I read this past winter. Let me know down below some books you really enjoyed reading these past couple months, and if you're interested in any further reviews of any of the other books I mentioned that weren't in the top 5, you may watch my wrap-ups from previous months, which I will also link down below for you, and I will see you soon in another video. Bye!